Hey, Mike here, and welcome to Mike Talks, mini Mike Talks. These are talks that enable a thriving posture in the workplace. We're going to do a 4-part series, and we're going to anchor it on a story and a quote. Here's the story. It's an ancient story. If you want life, if you really want to get this thing, if you want to live wholeheartedly, you need to be the person who finds treasure in the field and who, upon finding it, gets rid of the rest with joy. How about that? Rather random, hey? But that story has been so transformative to me. But let's couple it with a quote, a really good quote. Life is pure adventure, and the sooner we realize this, the quicker we can treat life as art. Maya Angelou. Testing 1, 2. Welcome to part 3 of our adventure series. In this short My Talk, we're going to be looking at the posture of the adventurer. Remember, we've looked at the mindset, we've looked at the action. Now, almost, if you can imagine, a physical posture. All right, what I find so intriguing about the story, the ancient parable, is the person, upon finding the treasure, has to let the rest go. Finds the treasure and then says, no thank you to the rest, the things which are currently there. How fascinating, how interesting. There is a little statement, which we all know, less is more. I think I can say honestly that I've only really begun to understand that in the last few years properly and begin to practice it more. Maybe it comes with a little bit of aging maturity, but less definitely is more. And when we shed, there's potentially incredible freedom. Let's do a little exercise. I'm going to hold my hands out in front of me and I'm going to hold them tight, like a fist. And I'm going to ask myself this question. Do it with me. What do you feel inside? How do your arms feel? If you're like me, there's a sense of anxiety which is actually going on inside. It's like it doesn't feel good. And this is hard work. Okay, now let's open it. What do you feel inside now? How do the hands feel? It's like totally different, eh? It's like, this feels good. And I can actually keep doing this. The posture of the adventurer is one of this to this. It's actually letting go. Let's talk about this using a couple of aspects. Creativity. And I'm going to share a couple of quotes which help me. Creativity. Seth Godin says this. He says, we hold on to old competencies and hard-earned status roles far longer than we should. The only way to be creative is to do something new. And the path to doing something new is to leave something else behind. Creativity requires this. Don't you love his opening sentence there? Some of us are doing this with a title, and it's going to stop us. The adventurer would do this. All right, let's talk about relevance. Alvin Toffler has this for a good quote. The illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, relearn. Whoa, that's so good. How about that word in the middle? Unlearn. If we want to remain relevant, we're going to have to unlearn. We're going to have to learn new things. All right, let's talk about resilience. And I'm going to go to great author James Clear, wrote a book called Atomic Habits. But he says this, keep your identity small. The more you let a single belief define you, the harder it is to grow beyond that when life becomes challenging. So in order for us to be resilient, we have to be able to let things go, especially as the world around us is changing. And last one, but we could do so many here, Maria Kondo, who became famous for writing books on how to tidy your house. But she says this, she says, by tending to our physical space, in other words, cleaning up our physical space, allows us to tend to our psychological space. I think most of us know this. When you walk into a room and it's just a total mess, it's not just what you see that disturbs you, but it begins to often impact inside. By letting go externally, we begin to feed the internal within us. Yeah? So letting go. So we've just spoken there about creativity, relevance, resilience, health. We could probably speak about almost everything that requires a letting go. So let me take you back to our two characters, Sally and Joe. Hopefully you're getting to know them. As we talk Sally and Joe, just keep asking yourself, am I more Sally or am I more Joe? So Sally thinks to herself that she's going to have to be very, very courageous. Something that she has been pushing for the last year, she now realizes isn't going to work. And she thinks to herself, I can either curse myself by pretending to have been right all along, or I can do the hard thing and stand up in front of my people and say, hey, guys, I've changed my mind. Sally thinks to herself, I never realized that changing your mind can be so difficult and require such courage. She thinks to herself, people are going to think I'm a quitter, because after all, winners never quit. But she says again to herself, as I assess the situation, the world has changed. And so Sally does the brave thing that day. She stands in front of her people and says, hey guys, I've changed my mind. How different to Joe? Joe knows that what he's doing is not working. He's in a hole. But guess what? Joe thinks to himself, I need to have the appearance of being right. So what does Joe do? He keeps digging. Yeah? Have you ever been Joe? Or have you ever been Sally, brave enough to say, I need to let that go? So how do we move more into this beautiful posture of the adventurer? First little tip, actually regularly do this exercise. Put your fists out there and say to yourself, what am I clinging too tightly? What would it feel like to let that go? Second one, a question. What is it right now that I think I need to unlearn? Now, you might not have an answer immediately, but just by asking the question is going to bring a level of consciousness to the thought process of unlearn, let go. Another equally good question is, what season has ended? A great practice to do, number 3, is just in and out. This is what we would call basic minimalism. But when you get something new pair of jeans, what needs to leave? What needs to go? Okay, it takes a bit of courage and takes some people might think you're a bit crazy, but we want to get this practice of I found and therefore I need to let go. And then lastly, and here's the really, really big one, stop trying to be Superman. No, you're not Superman. We like to think of ourselves as self-made men or women who can conquer the world, but the reality is that we are not. And the law of subtraction, which is what this is all about, says, I need to let go of my defenses. I need to become vulnerable appropriately. I need to realize that it's letting go of self, bringing in expertise of other people. It's creating a strong corner, not trying to be the well-rounded man who's good at everything. We are not Superman. The self-esteem movement, with some of its many benefits, has also created a little bit of a dark side where we're trying to be everything. And we need to let that go, let those beliefs go. So should we end off a little bit with some Madiba magic again? He says these words, I never lose. I either win or I learn. I don't know about you. I think learn is a lot more than the win. I can certainly think of places in my life where I'm winning, but I do know that every freaking day there's an opportunity to learn. But learning invariably requires that I let go.